silence. That's what kept the cracks in my mind from spreading wider. The Appalachian Trail was my sanctuary, my silent witness for months now. It was the only thing tethering me to reality. A constant hum of aliveness when everything else felt numb. Out here, the quiet wasn't just empty space, it was a thick blanket, muffling the echoes of before. Down by a creek. The water was a brutal shock of cold against my skin, but I welcomed it. It was a ritual, a small, grounding act my dad taught me years ago, back when these woods were our playground. Feel the land. Ethan, he'd murmur, like sharing some ancient, sacred secret. Dipping my fingers in the icy current, I could almost hear his voice, feel the phantom weight of his hand on my shoulder. Remember those long treks into the shadowy hollows? He showed me how to read the earth, the language of tracks, the whispers of safe plants, the silent warnings of the dangerous ones. Teenage me used to roll my eyes when he wasn't looking, convinced I'd never need that dusty old knowledge. Funny how life throws you back to things you swore you'd outgrow. Exhaling slowly, I crouched there, the creek gurgling its ageless song. It was a strange twist, ending up back here, in the heart of it all, after everything. People. Couldn't stand them. Letting anyone close felt like inviting a storm into a fragile shelter. Yet, solitude always seemed to have an expiration date for me. It started a few years after Dad died. His old hiking buddies, guys who'd shared countless trails with him, reached out. They wanted lessons. My dad's knowledge passed down. At first, the idea repulsed me. Teaching. To people. I could barely manage a conversation most days. But out here, knowledge wasn't some abstract concept. It was the razor's edge between living and becoming a ghost in the wilderness. I'd seen what happened to those who stumbled blindly. Sometimes a quick death was kinder, but Dad, he would have wanted me to help his friends, the ones he trusted. So, I caved. Reluctantly. On my terms. Only serious people vetted by his friends. No tourists, no Instagram influencers, no weekend warriors looking for a selfie backdrop. AVTRKOLWay. The pamphlet screamed. Physically and mentally prepared. That was the gate. Then, last week, the phone rang. Hey, is this Ethan Bellwether? The voice was all forced cheer. Too bright for the quiet I'd built around myself. It's Jake Olson. Logan Lafferty gave me your number. I hadn't planned on talking to anyone that day, or any day really. But something in Jake's voice, a weird mix of pushy and desperate, made me hesitate before hanging up. Listen, Ethan, he barreled on. I know this is last minute, seriously last minute. And I hate to be that guy, but we heard about your course, like, word of mouth. You're supposed to be amazing. Our last guide bailed. Hike got canceled. Total disaster. We're 3 guys, good shape, mostly. Liam played football, knows well Noah's enthusiastic. We're just really pumped to learn from you. Amateurs. That's the word that slammed into my head. Not city slickers exactly, but green. List. I said, voice flat, clipped. Clients go through physical assessments, wilderness prep certs. No disrespect, Ethan, seriously. Jake cut in. That nervous laugh again. We get it. Waivers, forms, whatever. We're serious about the experience. Just a couple of days, that's all. My mouth opened, ready to unleash the absolutely not. But something in his eagerness, that insistent please, grated on me. Self-destructive pride. Just plain exhaustion. Jaw tight, I let him finish the pitch. I'd owe you one, big time. Damn it. Last-minute deals, especially with strangers, were a recipe for disaster. But something in his voice, that insistent need, had wormed its way under my skin. Against every instinct screaming at me, I'd said yes. Now, I sat in my cabin, staring at the names scrolled on my clipboard. Jake, enthusiastic, no problem with the last-minute chaos. Liam, hesitant, a few questions, but signed the agreement quick enough. No. Silent. Not a single question. The diner door jingled, snapping me back to the present. Coffee and grace hung heavy in the air, a comforting, grazy blanket over the murmur of conversations and clatter of plates. Roadside classic. Vinyl booths, swivel stools, a menu fossilized in time. Jake spotted me instantly, waving me over to a corner booth, grin splitting his face. Ethan? Hey man, glad you could make it. I walked over, slid into the booth opposite him and Liam. Jake's enthusiasm was intense, hoping it wouldn't crack under pressure on the trail. Liam, though. Liam was all swagger, leaning back, arm draped across the booth, napkin tossed onto the table like a mic drop. Hair slicked back. More club, ready than trail ready. Took you long enough, he drawled, sarcasm dripping like cheap cologne. Ignoring Liam, I settled in, nodding a curt greeting. Noah was wedged between Liam and the wall, hunched over a menu, studying it like it held the secrets of the universe. Smaller than I pictured. Definitely not athletic looking. but watchful, maybe. Didn't even glance up when I sat down. Not a great start. "Sorry I'm late," I said, cutting off Jake's eager apology before it could even form. Glanced at Liam, then at the map Jake had spread across the table. No time for pleasantries. "Let's get down to business." "Absolutely," Jake chirped, handing me the floor like it was a golden microphone. Liam leaned back further, eyes glazed over. Nose shifted, a nervous energy radiating off him. "Cheer." Jake started. "Got it all. Checked your list twice. Fire starters, first aid, the works." "Hold up." Liam interrupted, hand raised dramatically. "Fire starters? Seriously? We're gonna be out there that long? Thought this was a day or two. Not some survivalist fantasy." I stared at him, flatly. If survivalist fantasy means not dying if the weather flips or someone twists an ankle, then yeah. Fantasy realized. Liam rolled his eyes. "No offense, but let's not pretend this is Everest, okay? Nice hike, little adventure, Jurassic Park this ain't." No flinched. A barely perceptible movement. "Liam, come on, man, don't worry about it, no." I cut in, annoyance simmering. Cold stare locked on Liam, hoping to burn through that smirk. "Keep that attitude up, we'll see how far it gets you." Jake chuckled, a nervous, brittle sound. "Okay, so, food. Packed it tight, smaller bags, weight distribution, all that. Noah helped me even it out." Liam snorted. "Snack time, got it." Noah's gaze dropped to his lap, shoulders hunching further. "I can carry more, if needed," he mumbled, barely audible. "Don't mind." "You'll carry what I tell you to carry," I said, voice sharp. No room for argument. Not about pride, it's about balance. Someone overloads, they drag everyone down. One person slows, we all slow. Noah nodded, a quick, jerky movement. Jake mirrored him, eager to please. Liam just stared, that stupid grin plastered on his face, like he was tuning me out completely. I was about to lay down the law, properly, but the diner door swung open again, cutting me off mid-sentence. Didn't even turn, but the air in the diner shifted. Conversations at the counter stuttered. Died. Something changed. Anything else we should know? Jake asked, voice strained, trying to bulldoze through the sudden awkwardness. "Just do what I say. We'll be fine. Not here to hold hands, give you the tourist brochure. Experience you wanted, experience you'll get. Keeping you alive is my part." Jake nodded, fast and enthusiastic. Liam shrugged, still radiating boredom. Noah just shrank further into the booth. "Meet here, dawn. Don't be late. And don't forget, some should be left alone." The voice, it sliced through the diner chatter like a rusty blade, rough, gravelly, like stone grinding on stone. I turned. Man standing at the counter, staring right at me. Face a roadmap of scars, stitched and puckered skin twisting his features. Eyes gray pits, sunken deep. He didn't move, didn't approach. Just stood there, locked on me. "What?" I asked, voice sharper than intended. The man's gaze didn't waver. "The mountains," he rasped. "Some of them should be left alone. Some paths never found." Every instinct screamed to dismiss him. Crazy local. Too much time in the sun, too much moonshine. But something in that voice, that raw, unsettling knowing, snagged at me. "We'll be fine," I said, trying to sound dismissive, brush it off. He didn't even blink. Just a slow, chilling smile stretched across that scarred face. "That's what everyone says." Turned, walked out. Door swung shut behind him, and the diner felt colder. What the hell was that? Liam's nervous laugh cracked the silence. "Creepy dude." I didn't answer. Ignored warnings before, plenty of times. But this the way he looked. Those scars shook my head, trying to dislodge the unease. "Dawn," I repeated, voice firmer this time. "Be here. Don't be late." Outside, the night air hit like a slap of cold water. Deep breath. Found myself glancing towards the dark bulk of the mountains, then stopped myself. Just a man, weird, crazy man. Mountains didn't care. Next morning, we started. Deep wood swallowed us whole. Sharp pine scent, crisp air, felt good in my lungs, a momentary flicker of peace. Tried to hold on to it, despite the knot of unease tightening in my gut. "Why so uptight, man?" "It's just a walk in the woods, Ethan." Lime's voice, grating already, didn't answer. Just kept my eyes locked on the barely, their trail, scanning for signs, for anything out of place. The Jake was beside me, puffing slightly, trying to match my pace. Glanced back at Liam, again, like he'd been doing every few minutes since we started. And Noah, trailing behind Liam, always behind. "Liam," Jake said, voice strained, cautious edge creeping in. "It's not just a hike. Weather can change miles from anywhere. Serious stuff." "Maybe just," Liam snorted. "Relax, Carter. What? Bear gonna jump out, eat us? Or is that why we got Ethan here, wilderness Rambo, protection from the big bad woods?" Stopped dead. Turned around, slow burn of anger rising. Look, Liam. Voice low. Dangerous. Be as much of an idiot as you want. Out here with me. You listen. Got it? Wes, sir. Liam sneered loot, shook my head, turned back. Sorry about him. Jake mumbled. Voice low. Nodded, didn't reply. My pack felt heavier than it should. Silence settled again, thick and uneasy, as we pushed deeper into the green. The first night bled into the second without incident. Technically. Though incident-free felt like a stretch when you factored in Liam. He'd spent the entire evening holding court, regaling us with tales of his supposed wilderness prowess, each story more outlandish than the last. Jake, bless his peacemaking heart, kept the campfire chatter going, while Noah just watched the flames dance, a silent, flickering shadow at the edge of the light. I mostly stayed quiet, perched on the edge of the firelight, back to the trees, eyes scanning the tree line. Felt them on me, even then. Something out there, just beyond the ring of fire. By day 2, Liam's need to puff out his chest was wearing thin. Wasn't just the constant jabs, the dismissive smirks, the way he treated every instruction like a personal insult. It was no. The way No just absorbed it. Shrinking smaller with every barb, eyes darting away whenever I looked at him, shame radiating off him in waves. Jake tried. You could see it, deflecting Liam's worst barbs, trying to keep the peace, but No just wouldn't meet his eyes either. At least Jake was trying. That counted for something, I guess. Had to work with what I had. Ridge up ahead, I said, voice clipped, breaking the strained silence that had settled over us. Sun was starting to dip. Long shadows stretching across the trail. Water source there. Fill up. Then push another couple miles, find a decent campsite before dark. Another 2 miles. Lime groaned, dramatic as ever. The dude, land speed record seriously, thought this was supposed to be, like fun, not some Ethan Bellwether death march. Jake jumped in, bless him. 2 miles isn't that bad, Liam. We're making good time. Good time for what? Liam scoffed. Racing squirrels. Thought we were experiencing nature, not speed hiking ourselves into an early grave. Liam, I snapped, patience fraying at the edges. Feel free to take a nap right here, roll downhill. Whatever your speed is. Otherwise, shut it and move. Silence descended again, thicker this time, laced with Liam's simmering resentment. We made the ridge without further commentary, thankfully. Trail opened up onto a narrow spine of rock, sheer drops on either side, wind whipping at us, colder up here. Stopped to let them catch their breath. Knew these ridges like the back of my hand. Rained them, fogged them, even pushed through sleet across them once. But something felt off, different, couldn't place it. Just a prickling unease under my skin. Started down the other side. Towards the planned campsite for night 2. Jake, predictably, jumped right into camp chores, gathering kindling, sorting gear, peppering me with questions about tent setup, fire building, wilderness first aid. Eager to learn one, kept an eye on Liam. He'd wandered off again, kicking at loose rocks and dirt near the edge of the clearing, restless energy buzzing off him. Noah hovered in the middle, a ghost in our little camp, watching everyone, unsure where he fit. Liam, don't wander too far, I barked, grabbing an armful of firewood, heading towards the fire pit. Yeah, right here, wilderness daddy, he tossed back, dismissive, just out of sight. Didn't like it. Tone, the way he kept pushing boundaries, testing limits. But Jake was asking about tent stakes, proper anchoring in rocky soil, needed my attention. Turned away, focused on the task, pushing Liam to the back of my mind. Darkness fell fast. Campfire crackled, spitting sparks into the night. Then Liam reappeared, grinning, something clutched in his hand. Check this out, he announced, mischievous glint in his eyes. What's that? Jake asked, leaning forward, intrigue. Liam held it up, flat black stone. Carvings etched into the surface. Looked like an eye maybe, found it over there, Liam said, pointing vaguely back into the trees. Souvenir. Put it, I said, instantly, voice hard. Chill, dude, it's just a rock, Liam scoffed, turning the stone over in his fingers. Jake shifted, uneasy. Yeah, Liam, I dunno. Maybe you shouldn't have taken it. What if it's, like, important? Liam laughed, loud and dismissive. Ancient curse, you think? Seriously, Jake, it's a rock, get over it. Didn't argue. Didn't like it. Something about that stone-heavy feeling settled in my gut. Sleep didn't come easy that night. Lay in my bag listening to the rustle of leaves, the snap of twigs, the endless whispers of the forest. Then it hit me, a presence. Opened my eyes, stared up at the star-dusted sky. Nothing. Looked around at the dark shapes of the trees. Nothing visible, but I felt it. Something watching, not the forest, not the wind, something else. The wind howled through the pass, a banshee wail that swallowed every other sound. Snow hammered down, a white curtain blurring the world into nothingness. Squinted, uselessly, at the GPS, blank. Ever since the blizzard hit, it was just a dead screen, a useless rectangle of plastic and glass. Map of the area, frozen mid-refresh, forever searching for a signal that wasn't there. Ethan. Jacob's voice, tight with panic, barely cut through the wind. He was right behind me, close enough to touch, but in this whiteout, he was just a shifting shape in the swirling snow. What do we do? Stop. Keep moving. Didn't answer right away. Stared into the white abyss, trying to find something, anything familiar. Trail gone. Wiped clean. Landscape itself was dissolving, contours blurring, landmarks vanishing under the relentless snow. Impossible to see. Impossible to know where we were. Even if the trail was visible, this storm had already written the terrain, made it alien. Keep moving, I said, finally, voice hoarse against the wind. Started walking again, pushing forward blind. Can't stop. Stop, we freeze. Motioned them forward, a jerky wave of my hand, more felt than seen. Stay close. Jake stayed glued to my heels. Could feel his fear radiating off him, a cold sweat in the freezing air. He kept glancing back, over his shoulder, towards Liam, who was lagging, a shadowy figure swallowed by the storm. You can't be serious. Liam's shout, surprisingly clear, ripped through the wind's roar. Struggling to catch up, voice edged with hysteria. This is insane. We're going the wrong way. Ethan, clearly the wrong way, stopped. Turned slowly into the teeth of the blizzard. Jake stumbled to a halt beside me, then no, finally catching up, face pale and pinched. Liam was last. Looming out of the white swirl, smugness clinging to him even in the face of a full-blown blizzard. Wrong way, I said, voice dangerously calm, fighting to keep the rising tide of frustration from flooding over. How can you tell, Liam? We're in the middle of a goddamn whiteout. He smirked, eyes glinting. Arrogance burning bright even in this storm. Because, genius, he drawled, we're walking in circles. Past that same rock formation back there, 10 minutes ago. You're leading us straight into a dead end. Jake tried to mediate, voice trembling. Liam, come on man, maybe. No, Jake, Liam snapped, cutting him off. You listen for once. This guy's supposed to be some wilderness guru, right? But he's leading us further and further off track with his stubbornness. Took a step towards Liam. Wind clawed at my face, icy needles, but the anger inside was a furnace. You think you know better, Liam? I asked, voice low, dangerous. Then tell me, where's the trail, nearest campsite? How far to civilization? Tell me where to go, since you're suddenly such a goddamn expert. He glared, bravado flickering, but could see the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. The dawning realization he was bluffing. Don't need to know coordinates to see we're heading the wrong way, he spat, recovering fast. Signs, Ethan. There were signs, back near that ridge, fork in the path. Obvious we should have gone the other way. Other way. Loft, a harsh, humorless sound swallowed by the wind. You mean the path that dead ended at cliff? You think you'd have found a better way by walking off a goddamn ledge? You'd have killed us all. He stepped closer, voice rising to match the wind's fury. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not special just because you teach weekend warriors how to tie knots. Ethan, you're leading us to our doom. Guys, stop. Jake pleaded, voice cracking. It's freezing. This isn't helping. Helping more than following him. Liam snarled, turning to Jake, then no. Saw a better trail, miles back. Taking it. Smart ones you'll follow. Liam, please. Jake's voice broke. Don't even know where that goes. We'll get even more lost. For Christ's sake. Lost is where we're headed with him. Liam yelled back, gesturing dismissively at me. Not staying here to freeze to death playing follow, the leader with Captain Clueless. He turned, abruptly, and plunged straight into the storm, heading somewhere. Anywhere but here. No hesitated, caught between us. Then, with a look of utter resignation, he scrambled after Liam. Liam, weed up. He cried, voice thin and swallowed by the wind. Trying to keep pace with Liam's long, reckless strides. He glanced back at Jake, then at me, a flicker of apology in his eyes, before vanishing into the swirling white. Instinct screamed to grab him. Drag him back, yell at him for being a goddamn fool. But no point. People who couldn't see their own limits, they learned the hard way. Or they didn't learn at all. Just disappeared. Jake stared after them, face stricken, turned back to me, eyes wide, terrified. What do we do, Ethan? Wind howled, snow stinging my face. Could barely see Liam and no anymore. Just fading shapes swallowed by the white. Wanted to scream, rage at Liam's stupidity, at Noah's spinelessness, at the whole goddamn mess. But no time. Ethan. Jake's voice. Barely a whisper now. Stick with me, I said, voice rough, forcing calm I didn't feel. We catch up to Noah, pull them both back. Gotta stick together. You think he'll stop? Jake's voice was laced with doubt, fear. Doesn't matter what he does. I snapped, sharper than I meant to. You stick with me. He nodded, quick, jerky, and huddled closer. We started moving again, pushing through the deepening snow, faster now, urgency clawing at me. Snow underfoot felt different. Subtle shift, something off. Couldn't place it at first, then it hit Miko. Slight, unnatural echo to my footsteps. Ground felt too smooth, too even. Kept walking, faster. The feeling growing stronger, prickling unease morphing into a cold dread. The ground underfoot, it wasn't right. Groove deepened ahead, a strange, trench-like line cutting through the snow. Snaking through the trees at an unnatural angle. Not a trail. Not a natural one, anyway. Something else. Something wrong. Liam. I yelled again, urgency cracking my voice. Instinct screaming. Redlining. Stop. Turn back, now. This isn't a trail. We need to turn back. He slowed. Just enough to glance back, smug grin plastered on his face, even through the swirling snow. Arrogance burned in his eyes, even from this distance. Don't know what you're talking about, Ethan. He shouted back, voice distorted by the wind. Said we'd know a trail when we saw one. This is it. Quit your whining, keep up. Not a trail, Liam. I roared, fists clenching, frustration boiling over, fighting to be heard over the wind's shrike, the snow's relentless roar. Wrong. Ground's all wrong, Liam. Look at the ground. But he wasn't listening. No, a lost shadow, trailed blindly after him. The groove widened, open out, and then we saw it. Looming out of the blizzard, something massive rising from the snow-draped ground, stone. Giant, black, impossibly smooth. No snow clinging to it, no ice. Wind seemed to shy away from it, leaving a pocket of unnatural stillness around its base. Covered in carvings, those same unsettling symbols as the stone Liam had pocketed. And at the base, etched deep into the black rock, that triangular symbol, camera lens. Froze, air punched from my lungs, heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the sudden, suffocating silence around the stone. Mouth opened, uselessly. Words jammed in my throat, choked by a terror I couldn't name. Never seen anything like it. Felt wrong. Out of place, alien. Air itself seemed to vibrate, a low, sickening hum that made my stomach churn. Jake grabbed my arm, fingers digging in, voice a strangled rasp of fear. What the hell is that? Ethan. I don't know. I stammered, voice a broken whisper. Liam, oblivious, or maybe just willfully ignorant, just walked right up to it, grinning like he'd stumbled on buried treasure. Holy shit, he breathed, laughing, pointing at the monolith like it was some prize he'd won. You guys see this? This thing's huge, worth a fortune. If we can, don't touch it. I roared, voice ripping through the unnatural quiet. First time I'd raised my voice, truly yell. Startled him, saw a flicker of doubt in his eyes, just for a heartbeat. Then the ground shifted. Low rumble, deep in the earth's bones. Started as a tremor, a shiver, then built fast, violent. Tremor became a full-blown earthquake. Struggled to stay upright as the earth bucked and heaved beneath us, groaning, shifting, like something vast and monstrous was waking below. Noah went down, knees buckling, face contorted in terror. Jake grabbed onto me, hands like claws, white, knuckled grip. What the hell is happening? He screamed, voice lost in the earth's roar. Don't know. I yelled back, uselessly. Stay close. Don't. To ground cracked. Right next to Jake. Didn't see it coming. 1 second he was there, hand clamped tight on my arm, the next gone. Sudden, deafening rip as the earth split open. A jagged black chasm swallowing him whole in the blink of an eye. Jake. I screamed, reaching, grabbing for empty air. He was gone. No time to react, no time to grab him. Last thing I saw, his eyes, wide, locked on mine, pure, unadulterated terror, then blackness. Swallowed by the earth, too, shocked to even scream. Not from the storm. Storm raged on, louder than ever. Silence in me. Breath locked in my lungs, voice frozen solid. Just stared into the gaping chasm, raw black wound in the snow, like I expected Jake to just climb back out. Ground under Liam and Noah shifted again. Further ahead, vibrations even stronger there. Groove widened monstrously. Surface under Liam's feet just dissolved, crumbled away as he, finally, to look back at me. Ethan. He yelled, voice cracking, finally, panic breaking through the bravado. Ran. Didn't think, just moved. Threw myself forward, through the blinding snow, ground cracking, heaving all around me. No was right on the edge, legs scrabbling for purchase, feet sliding on loose snow. Lost footing. Don't move, I screamed, uselessly. Too late. Ground gave way, a sickening crunch, and they were gone to them. Vanished, swallowed whole. Liam. No. Raced to the edge, desperate, reaching, grabbing for anything, anyone. Nothing. Just emptiness. The rumbling intensified, deafening now, earth tearing itself apart. Giant stone above, that black monolith with its carvings, the triangle eye vibrating. Humming. Loud, menacing, alive. Barely registered what was happening before the ground under me gave way too. Void opened up, falling. Last thing I saw, that black stone, sliding into place above, sealing the darkness shut. Woke up in black, absolute black. Head throbbed, a dull, insistent hammer against my skull. Mouth tasted like copper, thick with blood. Bone, deep cold seeped into me. A cold that wasn't just air temperature, but something colder. Stiff. Sore. Every muscle screamed in protest. For a heartbeat, thought I was still dreaming. Or maybe dead. Couldn't see anything. No up, no down, left, no right. Just nothing. Then, fragments of memory clawed their way back. Blizzard. Stone. Jake falling, no sliding. Lime's terrified face, ground ripping open. Falling. Endless fall. Shaky breath hitched in my chest. Assess myself piece by piece. Fingers, numb but moving. Legs, atching heavy, but they worked. Tried to sit up. Head slammed into something solid, low above me. Felt around, hands brushing against damp earth, cold stone. Ground beneath me wet. Fingers came away slick, dark. Blood. Pit open in my stomach, cold and deep as the darkness around me. Had to calm down. Had to think. Jake voice cracked, a pathetic croak in the suffocating silence. Liam. No. Silence answered. Staggered to my feet, dizziness washing over me. Nausea churning, air thick, heavy, damp. Cold stone, slick mud under my bare feet. Crawled blindly, hands outstretched, trying to get my bearings. Desperate scramble in the dark. Then, fingers brushed against something familiar. Backpack. Fumbled for the straps, ripped it open, praying nothing had spilled out. Dug blindly, frantic fingers searching, until matches. One box left. Just one. Heart leaped with a desperate, fragile hope. Took it out, hands trembling. One match left. One. Held it tight, a tiny promise of light in the crushing dark. Struck it against the box. Nothing. Nothing. Third. Try, still nothing. Fourth strike, desperate, frantic scrape against the rough cardboard flare. Tiny flame Bloomfrel, precious. Held it up, shielding it with my hand, desperate for a glimpse off anything. Flickering light danced across rough hewn walls. Tunnel. Narrow, claustrophobic, smaller than any of the mine shafts we'd passed on the trail, different. Wrong. Trails of something dark stained the walls, snaking down to the muddy floor. Blood. Floor wasn't stone, just mud. Pools of dark liquid shimmered in the matchlight. Blood. Jake, Liam. No, not here. Gun. Or this was what was left. Match sputtered, died, plunging me back into black. Sat there, in the sudden absolute darkness, for a long moment. Couldn't just sit, had to move. Had to keep moving. Crawled forward, deeper into the tunnel, downwards. Dangerous. One wrong step, a fall in this darkness, death down here wouldn't be quick. Boots were useless, slipping on the mud. Took them off, hung them around my neck by the laces, the leather cold against my skin. Tunnel sloped sharply downwards. Had to lie flat, stomach to the mud, inching forward, sliding, always downwards. Cold mud soaked through my clothes, chilling me to the bone. Ignored it. Focused on the next inch, the next handhold, always feeling ahead, testing for sudden drops. Another match. Flickered to life, pushing back the darkness for a precious few seconds. And there, ahead, circle of sticks planted in the mud, crude, almost childish. And in the center, double cross. Two sticks lashed together. Familiar, unsettlingly familiar. Couldn't place it. Where had I seen that symbol before? Didn't belong here. Not in this place. Had they made it? Jake, Lime, no. Or something else. Something that had lured us down here, driven us into this darkness. Signpost warning. Pushed the questions away, no answers here. If the others were alive ahead. Had to catch up. Tunnel steepened again, losing traction now, sliding, scrabbling for purchase, air heavier, colder. Only sound, my own ragged breathing, the squelch of mud. The occasional drip of water echoing from somewhere deep within the earth. Then, saw it. Rope. Hanging from the tunnel ceiling, just a few meters ahead, heart hammered, way out. Or trap. Sign. Someone had put it there, no time to think. Dirt under me shifted, crumbling away. One more slide, one wrong move, void yawned below. Reached for the rope, desperate grab. Fingers closing around rough fibers, just in time. Holding on, dangling, heart hammering against my ribs. Breath caught in my throat, real. Solid. Rope, way out. Had to climb. Purpose, raw and desperate, surged through me, started pulling myself up, hand over hand, muscles screaming, arms burning, thighs aching. Up, inch by agonizing inch, a few feet off the ground, sound from below, faint at first, louder whistle, high-pitched, piercing, growing louder, faster. Shriek. Not a whistle. Shriek, another joined it. Then another, and another, wails and cries, echoing up the tunnel, piercing the silence, signaling hunting, closing in, coming for me. Fast. Urgency, raw and primal, flooded my veins, adrenaline spiking, muscles screaming, pushing me upwards, faster, faster. Rope burned against my palms, raw friction, ignored it. Hold myself up, desperate, frantic. Cries louder, closer, frantic now, inches behind me, thuds. Series of heavy thuds, echoing up the tunnel walls, climbing. Something climbing. Terrifying speed, didn't dare look down, clemmed. Both hands pulling, digging bare feet into the slick tunnel walls, scrabbling for purchase, slow. Too slow. Breathing ragged, lungs burning, hands raw, bleeding. Didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Sounds below, reverberating up, closer, louder, louder. Claws on rock. Shrieking cries echoing, deafening. Whatever they were, terrifying. Didn't look back. Faster. No use. Moving as fast as I could. Not enough. Almost on me. Felt a sharp sting. Back of my leg, claw raking flesh. Cry ripped from my throat, scrambling upwards, desperate, frantic. Reached for the next length of rope. Eyes blurring with tears, arms trembling, exhaustion, terror. Certain it was right there at me, about to grab me, drag me down. Then gunfire. Deafening. Explosion of sound in the narrow tunnel, so loud, so unexpected. Almost lost my grip on the rope, shock jolting through me. Reverberated, deafening, echoing off the stone walls. For a heartbeat, thought I'd imagined it. Then again, and again. Gunfire. Someone shooting. Down into the tunnel them. Creatures below. Heard their screams change, pain and rage and confusion. Fear. Gunfire kept hammering down, driving them back. Giving me a chance. Hurry. Voice from above. Shouting. No time to hesitate. Clemmed. Everything left. Ignored fear, ignored pain. Focused on the surface above, that tiny square of light. Impossibly far away. Gunshots still echoing, deafening, relentless. Couldn't hear anything else. That was all I could hear. Deafening, echoing, a brutal, rhythmic boom that vibrated through the rock, through my bones. Didn't know who was shooting, didn't care, just up, had to get up. Adrenaline surged, a desperate, final burst of energy. Climbed like a man possessed, ignoring the screaming in my muscles, the raw agony in my hands. Rope blurred past, hand over hand, feet scrabbling. Heart hammering a frantic rhythm against the gunfire's relentless beat. Then, faint pale but light. Square of it above, growing larger with every desperate pull. Changed to thinner, colder, but less heavy. Hope flared, fragile, dangerous, but was there. Almost there. Just a little further. Reached the top. Hands ripped. Raw, bleeding. But I hauled myself over the edge, collapsing onto solid ground, gasping, lungs burning, vision swimming. Snow, still falling, but lighter now, swirling flakes against a bruised, pre-dawn sky. Wind still howled, but it sounded distant somehow. Muffled. Like I'd climbed out of the earth's throat and into the open air. Blinked, vision clearing, slowly. Man standing over me. Silhouette against the gray sky, rifle still smoking in his hands. Tall, bulky figure, wrapped in furs, face hidden in shadow beneath a heavy hood. Couldn't see his features, just the rifle, and the cold, watchful stillness of him. You made it. Voice rough, gravelly, familiar. The man from the diner. Scars twisted his voice just like his face. Barely. Stared up at him, speechless, breath ragged. You shot them. Stupid question, but all I could manage. He nodded, curt, efficient. Had to. They get a taste of blood, they don't stop. Gestured down, towards the black pit at my feet. Lucky you grabbed the rope. Looked back at the chasm. Jagged tear in the earth, black mouth leading down into nothingness. Where Jake, Liam, Noah disappeared. Shuddered. Cold deeper than the snow seeped into me. What were they? I whispered, voice hoarse, fear still clinging to me, a cold, clammy shroud. He shrugged, a slow, unsettling movement. Names don't matter. Hungry, always hungry. Live down there, where the path shouldn't be found. Eyes, those gray sunken pits, fixed on me, unblinking. Mountains have teeth, boy. Some places they bite back. Recognition flickered, cold and sharp. That symbol, double cross in a circle of sticks. Camera lens. You left that sign. Voice barely a whisper. In the tunnel. He nodded again, warning. For anyone foolish enough to stray. Looked at me, a long silent stare. You didn't listen. Didn't understand. I choked out. Thought kids maybe. Some kind of prank. He snorted, humorless sound. Kids don't leave blood trails like that. Gestured around at the snow-covered clearing, the dark woods pressing in around us. This place of it's old. Older than the mountains. Paths shift. Ground it forgets. Swallows things whole. Silence fell again, heavy. Broken only by the wind's mournful cry. Stared at the chasm, at the snow swirling around its black edges. Jake, Liam. No, Gun. Because of Liam's arrogance. Knows weakness and my own damned what? Stupidity. Ignoring the warning. Why did you help me? Asked it, almost against my will. Didn't expect him to answer. He shifted. Bulky figure moving like a shadow. Heard the gunfire. Knew someone was down there. Didn't expect anyone to be alive. Another long, unsettling stare. Mountains take what they want. Don't usually give it back. Didn't say anything. Couldn't. Just sat there, shivering numb, staring at the black hole in the earth that had swallowed my clients, my responsibility. My everything. He moved finally. Holstered the rifle, reached down hand thick, scared, reaching for me. Come on, he said, voice rough but not unkind. Jet you back to the trail. If there's anything left of it. Took his hand. Grip surprisingly strong, hauled me to my feet. Legs shaky, weak, but they held. Stood there, swaying, looking back at the abyss, at the silent, snow-covered woods, at the man who pulled me back from the edge of whatever that darkness was. Trail. I croaked, voice still raw. Which way? He pointed, not towards the path we'd been on, the path that had vanished, but in the opposite direction. Towards the deeper woods. Towards the shadows. Some paths, he said, voice low, almost a whisper. Air better left lost. And then he turned and started walking, and I, for reasons I couldn't explain, reasons that chilled me to the bone, followed. Into the silence. Into the trees. Leaving the open wound in the earth behind, swallowing its secrets, its hunger, its dead. Leaving then walking away. Alev, but changed. Something broken, something missing. Lost somewhere in the black depths below. And something elsey, something colder, something darker, now walking with me, out of the mountains, and into whatever waited beyond.